everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Edras and I wanted to preface this video by just letting you know a little bit about me. I am an educator and I've been in education for 20 years. I started off as a teacher in preschool, and that's what I did for most of my life, and I did immersion for many years, and I did immersion English and immersion Spanish. So that's why you will notice that in this channel we have some content that's not only in English, but if you are Spanish speakers and you are watching me from different parts of the world and you are teachers too, I also have a Spanish section here for your perusal. So yes, I was teaching for 20 years now. I'm in administration, in school administration, so it was like the next natural step up for me, and I am just really excited to be sharing some tips and tricks for you guys to start like your year off with a bang. And for many of you, school has already commenced, it has already started, but I think that this will still be really good content for you if you're just starting off in teaching, or if you've been teaching for a few years or many years like me. And yeah, so I think that you learn something new every day, and I think that the content in this video might be useful to you. So if you're looking for some tips and tricks for these first few months of school, keep on watching. So let's start with tip number one. Number one, it's September, so we don't really know your students yet, you don't really know the parents yet, you don't really know what the year's going to look like ahead. So it's going to be a little bit tricky to kind of test the waters and see like how you want this year to go, because you might have had an amazing year last year and your students were great, they were all listening, they were quiet, and maybe this year it's crazy and everyone's crying and everyone has like some issue going on, or everyone's not happy. You've noticed that you haven't made any connections with the parents, and that there's some parents that are very anxious, or that they have pre-existing criteria about teachers that they've had in the past, and you want to make sure that the year is nice and smooth. So to start off with our tips to begin your year and make it be successful, because I know you guys can do it, is be friendly with the parents, because you never know where they're coming from. You don't know what kind of home their situation it is. I've come from, like, my background is immersion, like I was telling you guys, and it's mainly been like really good schools where parents are very involved, but like even while the parents are involved and they that they are comfortable monetarily, doesn't mean that they don't have other different issues at home. So you just have to be friendly and like kind of be a little bit cognizant that you don't know what they're going through. If like maybe their eldest child is having trouble reading, or like they're trying to get pregnant and they're having difficulty and they want to have more children. You just never know what's going on if they're going through a divorce. So just make sure you're being friendly, and that means always smiling, greeting them warmly in the morning when they're dropping off, or if they're picking up their child. That also looks like and just always offering to help or being available for them, like if they need to talk to you on the phone or something like that, that you're able to talk to them, finding ways to just connect with them in different ways inside of the classroom, and like being also available through email if that's more comfortable for them, and just setting up time to be with the parents. It's really important to create that bond. Also, if you feel like, for me, like one of the things that I struggled with when I was teaching was learning all of the parent names, because I usually, since I worked in preschools, I had more than one class, so like struggling between, they all had nannies or friends, and like 2 or 3 nannies, and I might have like the Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, and then the Tuesday, Thursday class, the morning class, the afternoon class. So that was a lot of caregivers and grown-ups to learn. So for me, like, it was really tricky. I don't know if you have any special tricks and tips to leave for the other people that are down. Please leave them in the comments below, so other people can also kind of get some ideas and tips of what you do. But for me, like, something that worked well for me was, like, when I met them, I would say, "Oh, hi," and I try to remember their name and shake their hands at the same time, and also have a list of like the parents and their contacts next to the door, next to with the child's name right there. So I remember, like, oh, this is Graham, and Graham's mother is named Karen, and so I put them both like there right at the door. So every time I saw Graham and his grown-up, or his mother or his father, like, the names were right there at the door. So I would always try and say the names, and that really helped me. And parents feel a lot more comfortable when they feel that you are trying to take the time to get to know them and their names. So that's something really important that I felt that you could definitely benefit from. For number 2, the tip is to prep the classroom before, the afternoon before. I know, ladies, I know, everyone, that you might be exhausted when those kids finally say goodbye and you know, like the dismissal bell rings and you're just ready to go home. But for me, like, I'm definitely not a morning person, and you might think, well, why did you choose this career in education if you always have to be awake like super early in the morning and be, you know, like on your feet right away? But to tell you the truth, if I was, you know, like there was traffic or your train got delayed or something happened and then you had nothing prepared in your classroom, even for a substitute teacher, that's like, you know, detrimental. Like, it's horrible. Then you're gonna come into the day, it's gonna be messed up for you mentally, and as well as the children are gonna be disoriented. So something that I started to do like after a few years was kind of prep my classroom the day before. So I worked in preschool. Children, when they arrive in the classroom, would have free play. So free play would consist of different types of activities that we set up on the tables. They could be related to math, they could be related to reading or writing, or just fine motor skill development. So I would just, you know, put the chairs up for the cleaning crew to come in and kind of vacuum and clean up. But right on the tables I had like the activities that I wanted to do with them. So if it was finger paint, I would set out like the cups with the finger paint there, and also like construction paper or whatever else needed to happen at the table. I usually covered a tip for those preschool teachers that hate cleaning up the tables after they've used paint, is to cover the table up with a trash bag. And yes, you know, like the big trash bags that are for the for your bigger trash cans. And I would cut it in half and then wrap the table with it and tape it down, and that just made cleanup a breeze. So if you are ever doing an art activity that's very messy, that's one of the great tips I did. So I would do that the night before. I would tape it up, have the paper there, the paint already set up. At the other table, maybe we had puzzles or something like that. I would put puzzles, and then maybe free drawing or whatever it was. And then like if there was any activities for building on the floor or any things that needed to like be ready for the kids when they arrived, I just had all of those things ready to go. So for me, that was like always a plus. That when I got there in the morning, let's say, you know, there was a crazy accident on the highway and I got there just right before the kids came, all I had to do was put the chairs down and kind of quickly just make it a little bit more, you know, better for the kids and the parents to kind of get engaged with them. But that always really helped. So that's a great tip for you teachers that don't know what to do in the morning, or you haven't really planned for what you wanted to do for when kids arrive and things like that. And I think that even works with the older kids. Like if you have an activity that you want them to do, like write it on the board the day before, or if they're going to be reading a story, have their books out on the desks or something like that, just to have the kids know exactly what they have to do when they get there. And that just makes the day like go by really quickly and more smoothly when they get there. Okay, so tip number 3 is to use a picture schedule, and this works for not only the little kids but also for the older children. And I picked this up along my my teaching journey, and not in every school we had that, but I thought that it was so helpful, especially for the younger students or early elementary, those kids who still don't know how to read, to have a schedule so they can see how their day is going, because they really don't know how to tell time, and for them that makes them really anxious and that makes them upset. So something that was really great was having a picture schedule, and nothing fancy. If you have a computer or if you have a picture of the different things that you want to do in your day, then that's all you have to do. So let's say that the first picture would be arrival or free play, like for instance, like I was saying. So for that, I would take a picture of maybe some materials that they might use during free play. Then next is cleanup. So maybe have a picture of a child cleaning up. That would be the next card. Then the next thing might be morning meeting. So you'll have a picture of kids sitting around the rug or something like that, and so on and so forth until goodbye. Something that really works for them also is having a picture of an animal or an arrow or whatever it is that you want to use that moves along the schedule. So when they see that the arrow's moving along, that's for them, that's how they tell time. So that's going to help them not only telling time because they see the arrow moving along to goodbye, but also helps them with learning how to read in general, because we do the read from left to right. So if you have the schedule having them read it across every single day, they're going to keep practicing that until they get that skill, and that's like a pre-reading skill that really helps them too. But it also helps them with time, helps them know what the routine is and what the expectations are. So something like that would be very useful all through school actually. So if you're thinking about doing a picture schedule, you can also leave me anything in the comments below and I can help you find resources to get them. And if you're an immersion teacher, I do have them in Spanish, in English, and even in Mandarin if you're interested. I'm not fluent by any means in Mandarin, but I do have access to those resources. So tip number 4 is to be timely. And maybe, you know, like I understand if you got there late in the morning, but throughout your day in the classroom is something very tricky to stay like focused for the different periods of time, especially when you're in preschool, because there's not like set periods in the classroom. So that would be something that you kind of have to like, keep your watch on, and okay, it's lunchtime, okay, it's time to clean this up because we're having a special guest coming in. Just making sure to give yourself extra time, at least 5 minutes in between different activities, because sometimes you need to clean it up or set up the next thing, and you just need to have enough time to like really go through those steps before you move on to the next activity. And the kids, they, even though they don't know really, they can't tell what time passing time looks like, but they can tell when you're getting upset because you're not, you know, like on time for the different activities, or that you took too long doing one thing and now you have less time to read the story at the end and you're rushing through. The kids can see that. So try to avoid that by kind of making sure that you take enough time for each activity, or kind of plan out a little bit extra time for your activities. Something I liked to do was on a piece of masking tape across the board, I would write down like how long I wanted every activity to be. So I kind of worked backwards, and then that way that helped me kind of, oh, okay, it's 1:15, it's time to clean up and go to the playground. And so then I made enough time. Well, it takes us 20 minutes to get to the playground, 20 minutes to get back. How much time do I have left to do reading with them after they come back? So, and then how much time from there to goodbye? And that's just like a lot more helpful than just having like a million activities that you've planned and then you're always scrambling for time at the end. It's just a lot more organized for you and for the students. And tip number 5, which is our last tip for this video, is to set the tone with consistent routines in the classroom. And I know this must sound like blah 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 college life, but in reality, if you don't have a set routine for your students from day one and set expectations for them, then like classroom management is down the drain. So something for me that always worked was making sure that the kids knew that they had a set expectation. When I sang clean up, clean up, clean up, if you weren't cleaning up and I noticed that you were just standing there watching everyone else do it, I would go over to that student and show them what they were supposed to do. Even if they resisted, you still have to use their hands and help them put the toys inside. And then I would keep doing that with that child until I would be like, oh, you did that by yourself, great job! And then they felt really excited that they were finally, you know, able to figure it out. But you have to make sure that every kid does everything that's expected of them. If everyone has to push their chair in, then make sure every kid does it. There might be one kid that might take a lot longer, but you just go over to them and help them along. You're not going to stop your whole lesson for that one child that's not listening, but make sure that they are all, like, if you said listening ears are on and there's one child talking, be like, oh, I like the way that that Molly is listening. Oh, I love the way that Sierra is paying attention. Those positive reinforcements promote more positive behavior responses from the other children who are not actually listening. And this works well for any age group. So like there's always an incentive. Wow, good job. And now you're going to be able to be the first one to pick centers because you were listening, and then all the other kids want to do it too because they want to have, you know, like some sort of reward for their behavior. But just making sure that you set the tone that if it's time for everyone to sit down, everyone has to sit. If it's time for everyone to line up, everyone's lining up. If everyone is supposed to be sitting down for snack, everyone's sitting for snack. And that there's not like any children that are outliers, because that will make transitions a disaster for any age group. So just make sure that your expectations are clear and that they know, maybe using a graphic showing what the behaviors look like. For instance, quiet mouth, and then maybe a picture of a child with his finger like this, hands on your lap, having like hands folded, a picture like that, you know, like just very visual, so kids who can't read or are still learning how to read can still see it even though the words are printed below. So just be consistent with your routines and always follow the same routines and same rules, so they know what to expect. If, you know, like they misbehave, then they know what happens next, like they know what the procedures are from day one. So friends, that was a lot of content for your year to start off on a good foot. I hope that you found this helpful, and Please, if you have any other tips that have helped you in the past in your teaching journey, please leave them down in the comments below so everyone can share the wealth of information that all of you great teachers have out there. And again, welcome to the channel. If you like this kind of video, please hit the like button and the bell on the side so you know when the new videos are going to come up. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll have so much new content, not only tips and tricks, but also songs and materials that you can use in your classroom. So without further ado, I want to say goodbye and see you in the next one. Ciao!